Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It's December 3rd, 2014, and here's a look at our top stories.
Tonight, America faces a constitutional crisis as Obama's amnesty order ushers in the long-awaited EU-style North American Union. Then, New York City prepares for massive protest as a grand jury decides not to indict an NYPD officer for choking to death Eric Garner.
Once again, police beating up on people.
All that plus much more up next on the InfoWars Nightly News.
And welcome back. After the midterm elections, Republicans cheered and hurrahed, saying that they had more seats, they had more of a presence in the United States government. But this doesn't necessarily mean that everything is better. And of course, if you watch this show, you know that we don't fall into this left-right paradigm. We don't say everything the Democrats do is bad or everything the Republicans do is good, or vice versa. We know that there are many parties out there. Libertarian Party, Green Party, just to name a couple others. But we see the Republicans now continuing to beat the war drums. But somebody who's not, Mr. Rand Paul. Paul said, "If I'm ever commander-in-chief, I will not want to take the country to war," the Kentucky Republican added, saying it will be the last resort and only if the country is unified. And he says, "I want less. McCain wants more. He wants 15 countries more or 15 wars more," Paul said. And John McCain and Rand Paul have been involved in somewhat of a peeing contest, to put it lightly, in the last year or so. We see McCain coming out and criticizing Paul. He said, "You've never been to Syria. You've never talked to these people," of course, referring to the Al-Qaeda rebels that John McCain likes to spend his spare time with. And, Rand Paul said, "Well, I don't think going to war is the best thing for every situation." And I'm leaning more towards the Paul side, not saying that he's a perfect guy, but I don't think going to war at every drop of a hat is the best thing for our nation. We see McCain continually beating the war drums, and I don't think that's the best thing for this country, even if we do have more Republicans in seats of power. Not saying the Republicans are any better than the Democrat in the long run. Now let's move on to this. Obama official meets with Chinese internet censorship czar. Undersecretary for Economic Growth, Energy, and the Environment, Catherine Novelli, joined Liu Wei, Minister of the Cyberspace Administration of China, at a U.S.-China Internet Industry Forum. Newspaper reports that after the conference focused on the speech given by Wei, who urged U.S. companies to respect China's draconian internet laws or face being isolated from the market. And I believe it was a lawyer for the NSA who came out a few weeks ago and said that companies like Apple need to have a more open platform that can be easily intruded by the government, talking about how Apple had the very strong encryption. I'm skeptical of Apple's claims in the first place because we've seen them listed in the likes of the Prism scandal, but that's another thing. China routinely censors the internet and cuts off access in order to hide evidence of government corruption and to cover up atrocities committed by the state, a process that Wei has personally overseen since 2011. And according to the New York Times, on his watch, the government has increased blocks on foreign websites. So as bad as things are here in the States, they can definitely get worse if we adopt these policies being driven by China. We definitely don't need these here in the U.S. Our system is bad enough as it is. And talking about things being bad enough, could things get worse if somebody yells out, "Let's burn this mother effer down"? Well, that's what happened in Ferguson, Missouri. And the article reads, despite Ferguson Police Chief Tom Jackson's assertion that the police are investigating whether Lewis Head, the stepfather of Michael Brown, intended to incite a riot with his words, law enforcement sources told CNN that Head is unlikely to be prosecuted. Head said Wednesday that the emotions got the best of me on the night of November 24th in Ferguson, Missouri, when he yelled, "Burn this mother effer down and burn this bee down." Now, myself and Joe Biggs were in Ferguson, Missouri, just a few yards away from this incident, these words being spewed. And since then, of course, we do see the stepfather retracting these words, but this is, of course, after buildings were burned. Myself and Joe Biggs, we saw 3 personally. I don't mean saw on CNN. We were right there next to these buildings as they were being burned to the ground. So regardless of what his intentions were, actions were definitely taken. So we'll see what happens if they choose to prosecute him or not. But regardless, things are definitely hot enough out there in Ferguson, Missouri without anybody throwing fuel on the fire. And I do encourage people to go out and peacefully protest. You can have marches and banner hangs and candlelight vigils, but when you're looting and burning down businesses, that's going way, way too far. But it's not just the words of Mr. Head that have people concerned. Many people are concerned about the words from Al Sharpton, the words of Eric Holder when it comes to Ferguson, Missouri. And now we see Sheriff David Clark, the Milwaukee sheriff who's been a guest on our show. He says, Eric Holder has disgusted me.
And then I became disgusted. He comes out with these scurrilous claims, you know, that law enforcement officers hit the streets every day with some nefarious intent in their heart to deny people their constitutional civil rights and indiscriminately just, you know, shoot black males as if it were some sort of sport. I think that's irresponsible for a person in a position that he holds, you know, as you indicated, the top cop. But apparently he's abandoned his duty, really, to be impartial in this stuff.
Sheriff Clark made the statements in context of discussing the fallout from the grand jury's decision not to indict Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson in the shooting death of Michael Brown. He is now a former officer. So, you know, that's what's happening out there in Ferguson, Missouri. You have people coming in and stirring the pot. It's one thing to say, hey, this is what's going on, but it's nothing to say, hey, we need to have a, I don't know, racial revolution, and we definitely need to stop things like police violence, whether it's this case or, you know, other things as well. And many people debate the facts of the Michael Brown shooting, whether or not Officer Darren Wilson was justified in his actions. You know, I said this personally, publicly, that, you know, I've read a lot of police reports. I used to work at a jail, and you have the suspect, if they're alive enough to testify, they say, hey, I did nothing wrong. You have the officer who said this guy did everything wrong. And the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. So, you know, like most police shootings, I'm a bit skeptical. You know, maybe the first rounds were fired in self-defense, but after that, things get a little bit iffy for me. But something that's not open to debate, the death of one Eric Garner, who was killed by police for the heinous crime of tax evasion. Of course, this is the man who was selling cigarettes on the street. You know, he's not murdering anybody, not raping anybody, not child trafficking, none of that stuff. Selling cigarettes on the street, the police come up, and yeah, he's a little apprehensive. He says, hey, you know, he's a little agitated, officers. You know, I don't want to be involved in this. Maybe he pulls back a little bit, but he doesn't get physically aggressive. He doesn't swing, doesn't kick, but the officer comes and places him in a chokehold. And the thing I want to point your attention to, the 43-year-old father of 6 begged for his life, telling officers that he couldn't breathe before dying moments later in what the medical examiner's office ruled to be a homicide caused by a chokehold. And speaking of chokeholds, USA Today has this article, no charges in NYC chokehold death, federal inquiry launched. The Justice Department said it's opening a federal inquiry into Gardner's death, a federal official confirmed Wednesday. And I don't have a whole lot of faith in the Justice Department, not to mention, you know, because Operation Fast and Furious, things such as that. But, you know, I'm very concerned that they're just going to go in there and stir up racial tensions, and we definitely don't need any more of that, just like we heard Sheriff David Clark say, hey, we don't need guys like Eric Holder coming into these communities and making things worse for the people who live there. But speaking of how these things just continue to happen and there's really no justice for anybody, now we see in Phoenix police, suspect unarmed when killed by an officer. The man killed by a Phoenix police officer at a North Phoenix apartment complex Tuesday night was not armed, but the officer who shot him believed he felt a gun in the pocket of the 34-year-old suspected drug dealer, according to a Phoenix police spokesman. The object thought to have been a gun turned out to be a bottle of pills, police said. So there you go. They can fill you up, pat you down, and then say a bottle of pills. I don't have a bottle of pills. I do have a bottle of Secret 12, not a plug. It just happened to be sitting here. And if I'm patting somebody down, I feel something like this, maybe a little larger, maybe a little smaller. That doesn't really feel like a gun to me, but I guess according to that officer, that's what it was. So it just goes to show, you know, are there good officers out there? Yes. Are there decent people who just want to serve their communities, make the streets safer, you know, have a good place for their kids to play? Of course, those people do exist. But we see so many of these officers involved in these shootings, whether it's in Albuquerque, in New York, whether they're choking people, beating people to death like Kelly Thomas. These things continue to happen on and on and on. And just like people say, they want the good officers to arrest the bad officers, but so often that is not the case. So stay tuned after this break. We'll have more special reports. I have a special report from Joe Biggs. He's going to be outlining the new security features or lack thereof on Facebook. And also we'll talk about the constitutional crisis plaguing our community. Stay tuned. This is the InfoWars Nightly News.
For all of recorded history, civilizations around the world praised the health benefits of silver. At InfoWars Life, our mission is to bring you the highest quality, purest, cleanest, effective colloidal silver on the market today for the lowest price available. You don't have to be a doctor to know. The fall and winter months are the most dangerous time of year in North America when it comes to you and your family's health. InfoWarsLife.com is very excited to announce our biggest run yet of Silver Bullet colloidal silver, exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com. Now, InfoWarsLife.com has taken colloidal silver to the next level using a cutting-edge technique that is free of toxic artificial additives. Now more than ever, it's important to stock up on high-quality Silver Bullet from InfoWarsLife.com and to help others during Christmas by teaching them about the powerful benefits of silver. Secure your Silver Bullet today at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.
The average person's life is filled with unexpected challenges. Unlock the energy it takes to defeat these daily beasts with super male or super female vitality, specifically designed to assist the body in regulating proper hormone balance to create superior vitality in males and females. Supercharge and conquer your world at InfoWarsLife.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
We're suffering a constitutional crisis here in the United States of America. We've seen President Obama saying he has his pen, he has his phone, and he's going to act with or without the consent of Congress. We have the article on NoWorldOrder.com. Globalists applaud Obama's amnesty, war on Constitution. An article published today on the CFR.org said Obama did the right thing by running around Congress to enact amnesty for illegals despite accusations of an imperial presidency, and encourage him to sign more executive orders on climate change. The political calculus is clear enough. Most of those who will acquire legal status are likely over time to vote for Democrats, unless the Republican Party can reinvent itself as more inclusive and representative. And speaking of these executive orders, we have also seen President Obama come out and say that he'll sign executive orders to keep police accountable in the light of the things going on in Ferguson, Missouri. I'm very skeptical of this because even if he does put the body cameras on these guys, as I talked about earlier, it's the DOD, it's the Pentagon that's giving these guys all this equipment and all this training to do the things that they do in the first place. Let's go back to the article. The CFR, which can best be described as a shadow government due to its extensive invitation-only membership of the U.S. and world leaders, has long advocated a North American Union designed by the Trilateral Commission, which would combine the U.S., Mexico, and Canada into a political entity at the expense of both U.S. national sovereignty and also individual rights. And that's what they want to do. You know, we've seen the Republicans that came out and they cheerleaded and they said, yeah, we're doing a great job after the midterm elections. Of course, we don't fall into that left-right paradigm, but I was hoping they'd have at least some type of check and balance on the Democrats, but that has not proven to be the case. And they're also having a bit of a infight in the GOP. Conservatives scoff at Boehner deal. These hardline Republicans are already expressing their dissatisfaction with the plan outlined by Speaker John Boehner during a closed-door meeting Tuesday morning. Instead of a spending bill that keeps the government funded through September with a chance to review the Department of Homeland Security's funding in March, the lawmakers want to pass a much shorter resolution. Senate GOP leader Mitch McConnell has largely deferred to the House, declined to say what they should do, and emphasizing twice on Tuesday that there will be no shutdown and that he's likely to support whatever Boehner can pass. Senate GOP hardliners, though, think it won't work. So it's trouble in paradise. They had the huge wins back in the midterm, and now they're fighting already. And to talk more about this, we have Alex Jones on The Alex Jones Show.
How big a deal is this? I mean, this really is the end of the Republic, the end of Congress. There's been a lot of signposts on this road to perdition, but I don't think I have strong enough words for the constitutional crisis we're in, where on guns, UN treaties, our military, our power plants, our borders, why even have a Congress if the president is able to do this? This is unprecedented. Phyllis Schlafly, as a constitutional lawyer, where are we right now?
Well, Alex, you're absolutely right in what you said. And there are several items that you pointed out that I haven't seen in any other news media. It's just an outrage. And it does spell death of the country. Obama's attempt to fundamentally transform us, as he promised when he went into office. And I think it's outrageous, and I am absolutely disappointed with the members of Congress who are not taking the advice of Senator Sessions that you said, and standing up and fighting and saying how really bad this is. Because he's doing it for Democratic votes, and he's doing it to really break down the American system the way it is and make us a different kind of country.
And it's not like we're getting immigrants from high-skilled areas. We're getting people that almost vote to a man for the most radical socialist communist agendas.
That's all I know. They come from a country where big government was everything. They don't know anything about our constitutional principles of limited government and balance of budget and keep spending down. They're not familiar with any arguments like that. And so it's just an outrage, and I'm so disappointed in the Republicans in Congress who are not standing up and yelling and screaming about what he's doing.
Many historians have pointed out that other great republics, empires, nations go the way of Rome. It follows the same pattern. We are going the way of Rome, bringing in the giant third world populations, and it seems to be an accelerated collapse of Rome timetable now.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and I think that's what Obama wants. He does not want America to be exceptional. He doesn't want us to be religious or Christian. He wants to absolutely change us so that we're no better than any other country. And I think we are better. That's why everybody in the whole world wants to come here.
Well, we certainly were exceptional by every metric. Inventions, trailblazing, profits, growth, human rights. I mean, we were exceptional. Now I think we're kind of a paradox of some exceptionalism, but also a lot of exceptional corruption, exceptional bizarro behavior. The Democrats especially get away with exceptional lying. What do you make, though, just a month after that historic election, almost to the day, it'll be to the day tomorrow, a month after that landslide, that serious message, where even people like Bob Barr couldn't get elected because he was seen as establishment in Georgia, that should be a message to Boehner and a message to McConnell, and we should see a revolt, and they should be removed from their positions of leadership. I mean, we need to see that happen, don't we, Phyllis?
Well, we certainly do. Unfortunately, I don't see it happening because of certain collegiality that goes on in the House of Representatives. But Tea Parties, and of course, media have smeared the Tea Parties, who are the big opposition to Boehner in the House. But it's so important that they rise up and that the American people, the grassroots, realize that the fight today is within the Republican Party. And that's why I wrote my book, A Choice, Not an Echo. It's the fight between the so-called establishment, the people we used to call the Rockefeller Republicans, and now we call them the Rhinos or establishment, Republican in name only. But in any event, it's the money people who want to bring in the cheap labor, who want to make us play on the global stage, and Obama wants to be a globalist instead of an American. And we American people have just simply got to rise up, and the only one who's speaking real good sense on it is Senator Sessions.
That's right. Rand Paul has said that it's clearly unconstitutional, but it's so clearly, separately from the immigration and North American Union aspects of this, we've never seen a president act this unilaterally. When Reagan and Bush Sr. did limited legalizations or amnesties, which I don't think were good to begin with, it was in line with Congress and laws they just passed, not when they were at loggerheads and against the will of the American people and common sense. I just don't see how he gets away with this without an accelerated slide into dictatorship.
And another thing that gives me a pain is when they cite Reagan as giving amnesty. Yes, Reagan, it wasn't perfect. He did make a mistake. He did give amnesty to a bunch of them. But he admitted it was a mistake. And we learned from it because they promised that would end the illegals coming across the border. And, of course, it didn't. More and more came because they got a free pass into the U.S. And so we ought to learn from our mistakes.
That's right. But even though Reagan said it was a mistake, he was working with Congress, is my point.
Yes, that's correct. And, of course, Obama said he has a pen and a phone, and if Congress doesn't do what he wants, he's going to do it anyway.
And then Congress doesn't respond to that except for a lame lawsuit. And then Obama brags and says he changed the law. How could I guess he's really trying to break us.
Well, I think he's trying to break our country. I really do. And in fact, he's almost said as much. He really meant it when he said he wanted to fundamentally transform us. And we like to think we're the rule of law, that we're a constitutional government, that we stand by the Constitution. And somehow most of the congressmen are not.
DNA Force. When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in. DNA Force. No one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. Just one of the key compounds, BioPQQ, is backed by major clinical studies. DNA Force. We now have the synergistic solution. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force.
Introducing the first proprietary oxygen-based intestinal cleanser, OxyPowder. Backed by FDA-approved Phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials. All the toxins from the air, the food, the water, ultimately ends up in the gut or affects the gut. Take your health into your own hands and start cleansing your body today with OxyPowder. Secure your OxyPowder today at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
I'm Joe Biggs with NoWorldOrder.com. Today I got an email from a listener, and from time to time we get tips sent in, and from time to time we actually do stories on them because they're legit, they're really good. And the one that I got today is called, it's about the new forced Facebook policy that will be enforced on January 1st, and it's a really interesting policy. It's a little bit different from what we've seen in the past. You know, ever since the 9/11 attacks, the Patriot Act was put into place, and we've essentially just lost all of our privacy, you know, any kind of privacy we have on our phones. You know, I've done reports where I've shown you on my personal Android, Samsung right here, that it says that the NSA is spying and collecting data. The iPhone as well, they have that in their terms and services as well. And now the issue is, are they going to start saying that the CIA, the FBI, these guys are going to be considered third parties? Because what it does now is it says that third parties will have access to your information. Now what it says is, it says we'll collect information from or about the computers, phones, or other devices where you install or access our services. So say you have Facebook and you download the app on your phone. Now you've given them access to your phone, your contacts, your locations, where you're at, because you have that location button on. It'll let them know your exact location where you're at. Any kind of pictures, whatever you think that you might have that's near and dear and private to you, once you click yes, accept to that Facebook terms and services and conditions, you're now giving them the ability to go through your phone. And on your computer, once you open that device up, or once you open that website up, I should say, and go to Facebook.com, on January 1st is going to say, click yes or no, do you accept these new terms and services? I challenge you to read those and find out what they say, because it says, such as the operating system, hardware version, device settings, file and software names, types, battery, signal strength, and device identifiers. So it's going to, when you get on your computer, it's going to say what kind of operating system you're on, what hardware you have, the device settings, file, software names you have, your battery, your signal strength on your phone, device locations, including specific geographic locations through your GPS, your Bluetooth, your Wi-Fi, connection information such as the name of your mobile operator, or the ISP, the browser type, the language and time zone, mobile phone number, and IP address. This is what Facebook is doing now. This is no longer a place for friends. This is a place for the NSA, the government, to spy on every single thing you do. I mean, this is what I want to challenge everyone. Is Facebook talking to your friends on here? Is it really worth giving up all your privacy? It's really making me question whether or not I should even keep Facebook. I think I might even go in and delete it today. I mean, we shouldn't have to go through something like this just because, you know, Facebook at the beginning, yeah, I like to use it to talk to a lot of my old military buddies, keep in touch with people I don't get to see on a day-to-day basis, see how their kids are doing. But at the end of the day, really, is it worth having all my information that I have on here going out to the NSA, to government agencies, you know, all these different alphabet agencies? Because we know the CIA works with Facebook, Google, all these guys. We're giving away precious information that's personal to us. You know, something that you might share with someone that you haven't seen in a long time, or a private message that you send to somebody that you think it's just for you. Now that you've used Facebook on your phone, you've given that up to the government to use and to do whatever they want to with. You know, we know that they are arresting people based off habits and things like that. What if you look at something and the next thing you know, you get red flagged and you're on the no-fly list? So really think about it, and it's something I challenge everyone. Is Facebook really important enough for you? Do you feel comfortable giving all that information to people you don't know? These different intelligence agencies back in Washington and Virginia, wherever they're at. Do you feel comfortable doing that? So I challenge you guys here, all the InfoWars people who watch this right now, share this and get this out there, because it says we collect information when you visit or use third-party websites, information about websites and apps you visit. Every time you go and you look at a website now, once you've accepted Facebook, that information, whatever deep, dark secrets you think you might have or things that you look at on the internet, it's out there. So think about that, and I challenge you guys, like I said, to take a look and maybe just, you know, scrap it. I just don't know if it's not even that important. So continue watching our reports. I'm Joe Biggs with NoWorldOrder.com.
That's it for our show tonight. Be sure to stop by the InfoWars shop, check out our huge holiday discounts, get plenty of things for your friends and family. Well, that's it for our show tonight. I'm Jakari Jackson, broadcasting from the InfoWars Command Center, and we'll see you again tomorrow night.
Celebrate the spirit of freedom and liberty upon which our nation was founded at InfoWarsShop.com. Molon Lave is ancient Greek for come and take it. This popular design combines both classic Greek Spartan imagery with modern M16 assault rifles. Now available in women's tees and proudly made in the USA. Celebrate the spirit of 1776 with the George Washington brass belt buckle, or this incredibly sharp-looking 1776 hat. Badass. And be sure to check out the new arrivals at InfoWars Life, where you can prepare your body to perform at peak levels with Survival Shield Nascent Iodine, Super Male Vitality, and Fluoride Shield. And wake up, America. Immune Support Blend is the healthy choice for the gourmet coffee lover. So get incredibly high-quality, freedom-based products and help fund the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
You are watching the InfoWars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. Members can share their passcodes with up to 11 other people, and your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.